been in the corporate world for about 3 decades.
We didn't give you that kind of mind, that courage.
If you have to play the
If you
office
have to play,
yeah.
yes.
Oh
that's
well,
the
they
nice
say
thing.
you have to do that to climb the ladder. Welcome back to the Makamba Unfiltered Conversation podcast. Today, we'll be flipping the script. My name is Naomi Ebo. Today, we have Dr. Ezekiel as our guest, as this is originally her show, but she has graciously allowed us to ask her questions today. And the questions will be about the corporate world and transitioning into entrepreneurship. And with me on the show today is
Edidio. Ma, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
And Kachi, I'm super excited.
Yeah, Kachi, obviously you are, because I'm on the red hot seat.
I'll go right into the questions. Starting with the corporate world. We know you have been in the corporate world for about a decade now and more. How were you able to fit in the corporate world without shrinking yourself? You know, the corporate world is kind of tough for women. How were you able to handle it without conforming to what society demands?
Great question, Naomi. And so let me kind of change that. I've been in the corporate world for about 3 decades, actually, spanning across 4 or 5 different sectors, ranging from banking to FMCG to the power sector to the aviation sector, and of course the financial world as well. So it has been a roller coaster ride, yes. However, it's had its ups and downs, really, but there's been a lot of learning experience along the way. And some of it has been me being in the part where I had to be in much more male dominated sectors. So you had that in the power sector, you had that in the aviation sector, where there are more male dominated industries, male dominated sectors. And you literally have to do everything you have to do to be seen and to be heard as a woman, because a lot of the times, don't forget that this is me, a young girl with a first degree in English, which is what I originally studied as a first degree, and then was in banking for over 2 decades before leaving banking, about 2 decades before leaving banking and venturing into the power sector, which is so male dominated, and then of course the aviation sector as well, and then had a little stint in FMCG as well. It's been a ride where you've had to ensure that you are doing much more, especially as a woman, because you would probably get the comment of, she's a woman, she can't handle, or no, it's not for the female, people to do, or something like that. So you had to hold your head up high a lot of the times, and you had to keep remembering to tell yourself, I can do this, and I do not need, anybody to tell me that I can't do it. There were quite a lot of times where there were imposter syndromes. You knew within you that you could get these things done, but you also had the side telling you, you are not there yet. Maybe you should shrink. Oh, don't say that. Don't speak at meetings. Don't say that. You're about to say something. You know what you're hearing is not correct, and you know what you're about to bring to the table is value. But you're hearing, oh no, don't do that. No, don't bring that up. Oh, don't say that. But you also can't come to the table to drop value if you are not ready to drop value. So I went through the process of doing a lot of self-development, it's self-development in terms of soft skills, in terms of upgrading educationally. So I did a lot of going back to school, executive MBAs. So I have about 3 MBAs. I have quite a number of diplomas and certifications and licenses as well. So I had to keep going back and upgrading myself. So every time I came on board, I was coming on board back with value. Because you have to come back with value. You have to be seen either as a solutions provider or somebody who can actually do what they say that they can do. And so that was it for me. So I was moving from first doubting myself a lot to beginning to believe in myself and then begin to do the things to ensure that I continue to stay relevant and not shrink, like you said. You know.
Fantastic. Thank you.
That's quite interesting because the next question speaks to stereotypes. So you've been a woman in a professional or in a career world. How have you been able to deal with stereotypes? Or maybe they will say, she's an overachiever. She's too emotional. She's a woman. So how have you been able to navigate these things and handle it?
Yeah, a lot of that happened. I'm glad we're talking about the corporate world now. A lot of that happened. I remember a particular time when we had a meeting, and I was actually the only female in that meeting, and all the men were standing and hanging around, and just on the side, as they usually do at meetings, you would have refreshments and all. And so I walked to the table to go make myself a cup of coffee. And I remember very clearly when one of the men there said, "Oh, and while you're at it, can you make me a cup?" And I actually did a literal turnaround because all of us in that room were pairs. One or two maybe uh, in terms of grading and level were maybe higher, but the rest of us were pairs. And I couldn't even understand how, I was being told to be the one to make coffee, because all of a sudden, as far as we were in that room and I was by that table, they had suddenly just shrunk it into she's the woman, make the coffee. And so I immediately turned around and I said, "You can do your coffee yourself." And I made my coffee, took my snack, and went straight to my seat. And I think I got my respect, for the remaining time I was in that organization after that, because that stereotype we've come to the table, we are equal on this thing. You bring your ideas, I bring my ideas. You bring your value, I bring my value. I mean, come on. I didn't go to all the school and have all the sleepless
Exactly.
nights and all the exams and all just so that I could come be making coffee at some table for somebody. So yes, it is always there. Which is one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about mentoring women, especially because I try to, let them see that they are not the only ones. There are things that I've been through, they probably are going through in their, organizations or businesses or something, and they don't need to cower, don't need to shrink. They need to look at what that thing is and deal with it as it comes. So yes, they tell you you're too emotional, even sometimes at meetings. We're at meetings and they are, "Oh, that's a woman that spoke." And I'm like, "Okay, excuse me, how is it a woman that spoke and what I responded to, the value I brought to the table, does it make sense? Did it add value? Is it about to transform what we're talking about here?" If that is the case, then we don't need to put gender to it. Value has been brought. Take the value, do it, let it be a solution, and let's move on.
Very interesting. Already learning from your experience. It's like it's mind blowing. Now, let's talk about growth. We know office politics is real in the corporate world, and you've been in 4 sectors.
Like that.
5. How did you manage it? How did you manage office politics? Were you able to play the game or you were able to rise above it? I really want to know.
Oh, there will be office politics. And people always assume that office politics happens only at the top. That's not true. Office politics happens at wherever level you find it. Because there will always be somebody who is trying to snitch on another person. And if you're going to snitch on some other person, you're probably snitching to somebody who is higher. That is office politics. Another level of office politics would be between pairs, okay, where you want to be more recognized than your other pair. So you would tend to always be in the face of, maybe your line supervisors or maybe the chairman or the GMD or somebody or the CEO, because you want to be seen as the one doing all that, and then, maybe when you're at meetings, that person's name is being mentioned more times than other. Oh, did you see? So yeah, so that's all office politics. I have never been, and I hope it's okay to say this on camera. I've never been one that likes to kiss boots or lick ass. So from day one, I've always separated myself from all that drama. So I wouldn't particularly say I played office politics. It was there, it was existing. But emotional intelligence always came to play for me. I always needed to know how, when, where to show up and to say what I needed to say and do what I needed to do without necessarily sounding or looking like I was playing any game. I don't know if I'm making any sense. So it was important to ensure that at each point in time I was always reading the room. I was always reading, and I'm a certified body language so those are the soft skills that I built. So I would always look at body language and look at that. Once I see the negative signs and all, I would withdraw and look for another time to maybe bring up what it is I wanted to say or what I wanted to do at that particular point in time. So it was very important for me. So I won't particularly say I played it,
Okay.
but does it exist? Oh, it exists in very, very, very high levels. It won't exist at very top levels, maybe a CEO to board members. It exists in those levels. So it exists across. It just depends on what levels are. But emotional intelligence will guide you. You understand, especially in the corporate world. You know where to say, what to say, when to say, without necessarily bringing down anybody, without throwing anybody under the bus, and without dancing to something that you probably would go back and hate yourself and be, why did I do that, or why did I say that? And where it was not necessary for you to speak, don't speak. Sometimes silence can be a really loud statement that is made, and the audience can get it. You understand? Because office politics sometimes doesn't really end, never really ends well.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for that. And in addition to office politics, most times it can be really toxic. And especially probably maybe all organizations or some organizations. And like you said, know when to read the room and apply emotional intelligence. So that should be it. Be emotionally intelligent when playing your office politics. So you don't have enemies at the end of the day.
If you have to play the
If you have to play, yes.
Oh, well, they say you have to do that to climb the ladder, because that's another way of showing yourself. So I think you can't miss it. You just have to play it, but be emotionally intelligent while doing it. So speaking about personal branding, you've been in the corporate world. Forgive me, I said for a decade and you had to correct me. But anyway, you've been in the corporate world for quite some time now and you're transitioning into entrepreneurship. So what would your advice be to young professionals that want to take the same path with you? What would you say to us?
First, you must understand that while you were in the organization, you were an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship had already begun to build itself in you, because if you were, and emphasis on where, if you were or are doing your job as expected, and you're putting in your entire best on the job, and you're doing it like if it was yours, what are the kind of results you will expect? You're already becoming an entrepreneur. You are just an entrepreneur at that particular point in time, because at the end of the day, anyway, expectations are results. What is coming out at the end of the day, if you understand what I mean. So I already had, those things of, one time I was in a role, I was giving it my best shot, and I was doing, everything that I needed to get done as expected. I stayed in the banking sector for the longest, of my career, about 20 years of my three decades was in the banking sector. So, and if you understand the banking sector well, that is a great sector that teaches you almost everything you need to know as a business person, because you have the credit end, you have the loan end, you have the customer service end. So that was a whole portfolio that literally laid the foundation and the framework You could do your bookkeeping. You could, all that. You understand? You can manage your business. You're maybe a branch manager. So that was a whole, so it was easy to be able to carry that, which is why, I could move on to other sectors and excel in those sectors because the foundation, was really solid. You understand? And so that was already something so I was an entrepreneur. So I used to call myself an entrepreneur from, time, and then of course I moved into other sectors and I carried the same mental state with me. Understand what I mean? And I continued to do that. So when it was time, so I need to make it clear, I am not yet at the age where I have retired. I'm not sure I have reached that stage, where I would say I am retired. No, I just got to a phase where it was time because I believed that I had, groomed myself a lot and had put so much on the inside of me that the entrepreneurial world needed, you understand, to take from. And I had passion also driving me. I had purpose also driving me. And it was important, to be ready to put it out there because I believed very sincerely that I'm moving into a blue ocean kind of strategy where the market is so large and your giftings and talents, you can bring them out to help other people. I'm also one person that likes to make impact. I'm carrying a lot. I always tell myself that I'm a pregnant woman. I'm pregnant, but not physically pregnant with a baby, but I'm pregnant with a lot of things to birth. And when it got to that stage, I knew it was time to launch out. And that's how, I birthed my company, Coral 8 Limited, and then of course birthed the Makamba, Unfiltered Conversations, and many more still in the pipeline to birth. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
You kind of seem like you're breathless.
Quite overwhelming.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this particular question speaks to me because I'm an entrepreneur. And I'll ask it in two parts. The first part is, one would think that with a successful career such as yours, you would feel accomplished. For Christ's sake, you've transited 5 industries as a woman, even male-dominated industries. And now you want to start your own thing. What give you mind? That kind of, what give you that kind of mind, that courage to feel that I can do this? That's part one. Then the second one, there are a lot of people who are really not in the fields they want to be, but they feel I've been in it 10 years. Should I go and start afresh? So what would you say to people like this? People who are in the field or in a career or in a business that is failing, but they feel, whoa, I've come too far. I can't go back. What would you say to them?
Okay. All right. So let me start with the first question. Yes. I was in, like I said, banking. I mean, banking was, it had all the perks. It wasn't just all the perks financially, but it gave you room, to grow. So a lot of my network and net worth come from that sector. And just the same way I got up one day and I was like, you know what, I can't do this again. Because I felt at some point it had become routine. And I am a very unusual kind of person. When something becomes too routine, I sit back and I do a lot of reflection. And I know that it is time. Especially if you carry so much on the inside of you. You want to be able to birth something new, something different. And when it was time, I knew it was. I wasn't that person who wanted to become the CEO or MD of a bank. It was not. It was not a bucket list for me. It wasn't. I had risen to a really high level. I can tell you. So I'd gotten to be an AGM in the bank. So I was on a high level. So it wasn't like I was small fry or something. And yes, we had all the perks, the official days, the official that, but it wasn't enough. If you're someone that is hungry for more, you would know that wasn't enough. And then it had become routine. I wasn't particularly sure if there was anywhere in banking you could put me and I wouldn't excel. Corporate banking, investment banking, retail banking, commercial banking, credit. I wasn't particularly sure there was anything that you could put me in that I wouldn't do after about 2 decades. So I knew it was time. I personally was the one who actually walked and dropped my letter and said, you know what, I'm going immediately. So please do the needful, take the in lieu. I'm right. I remember dropping that letter of resignation with a draft to cover my in lieu in notice. That's how serious I was to leave. And I remember my madam at the time actually tearing the letter and saying she's not going to let me go. And my madam was actually around very recently, But when I sat with her and I said, I am hungry for more, and I can't do routine anymore, she had to see reason with me. And that's why there's still that relationship we have till today, over a decade after I left banking. You understand? And then that happened with moving others. So when I get in, when it becomes a bit too routine for me, and then again, when it just looks like, and I always kind of know, and it's important to know that, always know when the ovation is loud and time to bow. It's very important. So even as a corporate person, I had, just like you would have in business, I had an exit strategy. And my exit strategy was always, when the ovation is loud, time to back away so that you will be remembered. You understand? So that is it. So that is the lever. The mind, Kachi. That's the mind that I had, to take that work. Because come on, we only live once. And if you do not, I belong to a group of friends and we are called the One Life Gang, So what we always say is, whatever we've got to do, we only live once. If we don't have that thing done, then when? You understand? And you don't have the opportunity to know when the Lord will call you. Although I also have a covenant to know when the Lord will call me. We have a covenant. I have a certain age that I want to go through. That's on paper. However, but you need to know. Now, to the second question, Kachi, I had an Insta Live sometime this week, and one of the things I talked about was reflection. You can't be in something for 10 years and you are not going forward, you're not going backward, and you're just stuck in the middle. That sounds like a track from Michael Jackson, stuck in the middle. Some line in his music, And you're still there. You don't have any passion. Nothing is driving you. The worst thing you can do for yourself as an entrepreneur is not have something that drives you, that makes you wake up every morning. As an entrepreneur, what I always say, and funny, I teach entrepreneurship and startups and innovation and all that in one of the business schools where I facilitate. And I always say this to the students: you are an entrepreneur to solve a problem. And if while you are in the course of that business, you cannot identify that you are solving problems, you have to go back, sit back and reflect and ask yourself real deep question. I'm not solving this problem. The fact that you're in doesn't mean that you should be in. That's why I have a lot of respect for companies that come back and say, you know what, we can't continue in this because we found out that this and this has happened. And so two things, are either selling off that business or they are, doing some sort of yard sales and to sell out. Because they have looked at it, and you can't continue to stay in rot in something that is not growing. And then you just continue to, just stay there. So as an entrepreneur, you must consistently have a period of reflection. There must be that period of reflection where you are telling yourself, you do a review of what your business has been, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months in that year. What has happened? Do that reflection, do that, audit, and ask yourself the question. If it was a passion, then you have to sit down and re-strategize and figure out where are the places where you were doing the things wrong and figure out what's happening. A lot of entrepreneurs are not going with the times. Things are changing and they are not going with the times. And so if you continue to do the same thing the same way, you will get the same result.
Thank you so much. So 2 things I've picked from what you said. Number 1 is you must have a drive.
Yes.
Don't just wake up and go. There must be something keeping you awake at night and waking you up in the morning. The second one is reflection and intro what? Yes, introspection. That means you have to think, okay, analyze, what am I doing? Am I solving a problem? Is this relevant? Are we making progress? And if you are not, be bold to take a step and say, no, we're not doing this anymore. Change is the only constant thing, really. So thank you so much.
Yeah, while I did that, I gave an example at the Insta Live. I did a consultation for a friend who has a small business, and she had about 8 products. So her focus is on healthy foods, for it. And she had a small business. She had like 8 products that she was doing, but for some reason, revenue was coming, but for some reason, at the end of the day, they would probably have a lot of wastage and all that. So we sat down to look at her business, and we did the work, and we found that only 2 of those 8 products was generating 70% of the revenue from that business. So we did we retweaked, a lot of numbers, we moved a lot of things around, we did a lot of strategy. Found out that one of the products that was giving the lowest sales was the one that she was pumping a lot of resources into, So there was a lot of overheads on that product, but there was very little revenue coming out of it. So that's why I said you need to reflect, check your strategy. What are you doing? So today she's opened up a second outlet that only caters to those 2 products that are generating that, So now she's generating about 85% of revenue because of that second location, well put where those 2 products will, excel in, So you need to, as an entrepreneur, take a step back and look at your business again.
While you were answering earlier questions, you said something. You said you were hungry. And the you I'm seeing, that hunger, yes, has not been satisfied. You're quite ambitious, and I admire you. That's one of the reasons why I'm your mentee.
Yes, we all are.
And with this ambition, 5 sectors. I would always stress that 5 sectors. How did you manage burnout? Please.
Oh my goodness. Okay, great question, Edidion. Great question. Okay, so because I was very hungry, and when I was much younger and all that, there was that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So I would always take up everything. I would always take up everything, because again, there was that instinct of perfectionism inside of me as well. I wouldn't believe that anybody else could do the thing as well as I would want to do it. So I would take up everything, but as I grew in the career, it got a little more tougher. The hunger was there. I still wanted to deliver. I still wanted to ensure that expectations were met, results were delivered, but I had to start to do the right thing. So that's why it's very important for you to consistently self-develop. So in the course of all the self-development and all, I realized that delegation was important. I also realized that leaning on identified, viable, trusted support system was also important. So I began to leverage on my support system. You understand? And I still do that till today. I began to leverage on delegation. So if something was given, I had to trust my team members to deliver. So even if they did not do it properly, I would be there to guide. But even if I was guiding, I was probably guiding 25% of the time, no longer 100% of the time, because the 75%, they had done the work. So that began to relieve me a bit, and that began to allow me to think more and come back on the table to deliver leadership insights and tips and things that I originally was supposed to be doing, as against I shan't agree, that I was doing. So, and that really helped a lot. And so I began to prioritize rest, okay? And then I'm very, very, very big up on self-care. Very big up on self-care. So I'm that kind of person that before the weekend gets, apart from maybe banking, when we used to have all those coming out work on Saturdays and all, rest of my sectors, fortunately for me, except again the power sector, which that also happened a bit. But I used to really would have my Saturdays planned. So I would go for sip and paint. I would go for Owambes if there were. I'll go to the beach. I would go with my One Life gang friends. We always just had something to do. You understand? So I used to prioritize self-care. I would have paid for months on end of spa treatments and have the dates set up. So there's nothing that you can do. I can take it out. I'll go give myself have a really good massage, facials and stuff like
Baby
that.
girl treatment.
Those baby girl treatments, exactly. And that really began to help. So it's important to delegate, and it's really important to leverage on the support systems that you trust. They are there for a reason. They are there to help you. Yeah.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
You are growing. Don't worry.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
So it's a lot we're taking in. But sitting across your younger self or sitting across your mentees. What
That's supposed to be like a trick question.
What are 3 things you would tell us about being our original self?
First of all, I won't say first of all. Let me start by saying the whole verse right now, the whole system, everything, we're borrowing so many wrong culture, and these cultures that we're borrowing are cultures of packaging. We're packaging a lot, we're becoming who we are not. And that's one of the reasons why I create, the Makamba Unfiltered was birthed. It was to allow people be them, able to speak these truths, you understand, so that we can relieve people of packaging burdens that they are carrying. Because there's so much people are hiding under so many things. So if I was to sit, and funny enough, I think I have one of my podcasts, that one of the episodes that was about my younger self. It would be nice, to go listen a bit to that. That would tell you a lot. But what I would say to, the young women out there, to you, I have been very blessed and fortunate to have had you on one of my mentoring cohorts. You guys were exceptional. You put me on my toes, I must say. One of the toughest cohorts that I've had to mentor. So what I would say is, first of all, competence is non-negotiable. You can't come on board and do things anyhow. Competence is not negotiable. You must be so good that people do not ignore you. You've got to get to that level, that people do not ignore you. Okay, I'll use an example. So we're sitting on this beautiful set. This set is done by one of my mentees, Wafrika Studios. It's a mentee as well. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Wafrika Studios has become so good, they cannot be ignored.
Yeah.
So competence is so important. Very important. You must become good at what you do so that you are not ignored, so that people take you seriously. You don't want to come on a table and then people do, oh, Shebi is them again. You understand? That's a brand killer. Another thing is, build your network as much as you build your resume. So a lot of us are building our resumes, so you get on this new job, you put it there. You get this new certification, you put it there. What about the people? What are you doing about your relationship? How are you nurturing those relationships? Your network will open doors for you that your competence may not open. Your network will open those doors. What are you doing about your network? How are you nurturing your network? And it's not only about you coming on your network and taking and taking and taking. You must also come on your network to give value. What are you also bringing to the table with the people that you have around you? How important are you to your, to the relationships? Because relationships will open doors for you. So it's important to build it. And then the last one would be, do not be the one that dims your light. Don't dim your light. Your voice. your perspective, your uniqueness, your assets. They are unique to you. Don't be the one to, even your liabilities, even the mistakes that you have made, they are all important to you. Don't be the one that now, goes to dim your own light. Own your light fully. Your mistakes, your perspective, your voice, your assets, everything that is you. One of my mentors says, to thy own self be true. Own it and own it fully, and stand with confidence and hold it and speak. I think I have built myself into a path where I am not sure anybody can dim my light. Outside of the fact that I'm yellow, but you can't dim my light. I've built that confidence in that part that I own my entirety fully. And so that's what I would say to younger ladies, younger women out there. Do not be the one that dims your light. Own everything, your voice, your perspective, your uniqueness, your assets, your mistakes, your liabilities. Own it fully and become who you have been called to be. Because everything, that's what my Bible tells me, everything comes together to work for your good. So own it fully, you understand? And because your story needs to be heard. Your story needs to be heard. And that's again, why Makamba is here. Makamba is here to hear those stories in its raw state as it is. You understand? So that
while you were speaking and you just kept dishing out and saying, I don't have a notepad, but I was already mentally pinning all the three.
Pin them down.
Yeah, pin. And one thing I took it and I think I kept it in my left palm so it doesn't go missing, is the fact that you said, own your mistakes. Own it. In our world of today, we see people passing the blame. We don't want to take responsibility for anything. Children say, my mother did not raise me this way. I was not told. I do not know. Always passing the blame, not wanting to own it. Take responsibility. And it's quite key, taking responsibility for those things. And that's one step to growth.
Yeah.
If one could.
That's a major step to growth.
Yes.
So powerful. And the truth is, for knowing you for a bit, I know that you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. I think in your last birthday, you mentioned that you had people who were in nursery school with you as friends that you have till date.
Yes.
I was like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
And it just goes on to say that beyond talking, it goes back to competence, goes back to building network. It's
relationship.
my God. It's an overdose. Thank you so much for allowing us to flip the script on you.
Thank you.
It's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Enobong. We are full with so much wisdom and we're grateful. Thank you for having us on your show today.
Yes,
And we
so
hope you come back some other day.
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
Well, thank you so
looking
much.
forward to it, please.
Okay, so thank you again so much for flipping the script. It was absolutely amazing sitting on the hot seats.
We loved doing
Being
it.
questioned by my own mentees. Well, actually one of my favorite cohorts. Very stressful cohort, but one of my favorite cohorts. I really want to say thank you, for, being on the set,
Thank you for having us.
and flipping the script on me. Your questions were very on point, and I hope I was able to deliver on the responses as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much. So, like we do with our guests, in Makamba when we have guests, we would like to give you a small token from our Makamba,
we get
set.
to get gifts.
Yes,
So
please.
thank you so much.
To give you our small gifts. If you would just hold the bag, where you have the Makamba on it. Yes. So we'd like to give you a small gift.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, for being a part of, one of the episodes of Makamba. It's been fantastic having you on ground. And I hope that I can have you come back again.
I'll be
But I can guarantee you that this time the flip will go back to the original
Ah.
owner.
Mm.
So don't come thinking that you are going to come and do this again. And to our audience and listeners, I'd like to say a big thank you for tuning in and listening and watching this episode. It was really a great one. I was on the red hot seats, no pun intended. And I was, and I hope that what you've heard today would add a lot of value to you, resonate with you, and I hope to see you at the top. So please subscribe, share.
Share,
Please share this
Share.
episode. Share, bring other people on board. Please drop your comments, drop your feedback. We would like to hear from you. What do you want us to do better? What other topics would you like to hear, discussed on Makamba? So as we say on our sign out, keep it raw, keep it real, keep it unfiltered. Till we see you next time. This is Enobong, sub-host for today's event, signing out. God bless you.